Hello everyone, this is Bawler and I have an important and interesting video for you. Subscribe and write what you think about it in the comments. Since the beginning of its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Russia has faced more than 21,000 sanctions from the West, an effort meant to cripple its war machine. But Moscow has found ways to dodge many of these measures, especially those targeting its vital oil and gas exports. Using a growing fleet of shadowy, unregistered ships, Russia has continued to move energy resources and rake in revenue to fund the war. That lifeline, however, is now under threat. Ukraine has begun to strike back, not only on the battlefield but also at sea. According to an analysis by Ferrum for the Kyiv Post, Ukrainian forces have started targeting Russia's shadow fleet with surgical precision, inflicting serious damage on ships operating far from the front lines. These covert strikes aren't officially acknowledged by Ukraine, and for good reason. They often occur outside Ukrainian or Russian territorial waters. Yet the impact is undeniable. Ukraine's campaign is hitting the core of Russia's illicit maritime trade, targeting oil tankers operating under flags of convenience to evade sanctions. These vessels are a critical link in funding Putin's war, and now they're being systematically dismantled. These strikes span the Black Sea, the Baltic, and even the Mediterranean. In each case, Ukraine uses unmanned systems to deliver devastating blows to massive tankers, crippling them without sinking them. This approach sends a clear message. Ukraine can reach deep into Russia's logistical operations and strike where it hurts the most, its pocketbook. One of the first such attacks took place on January 28th, when a vessel named Sea Charm, flying the Marshall Islands flag, was hit while sailing along Turkey's Black Sea coast. Though Ukraine hasn't officially claimed responsibility, it's widely believed a Ukrainian naval drone was used to punch a 3-foot hole in the hull, disabling the propulsion system and leaving the ship stranded. Then came the February 4th strike on the Ferrum, a Liberian-flagged tanker docked in Tobruk, Libya, a known hub for Russia's sanction-evading oil deals. An internal blast wrecked the ship's propulsion shaft, forcing a costly salvage effort. Tracking data revealed the vessel had recently visited a Russian port, evidence that Ukraine had chosen its target carefully and executed with precision. On February 15th, the Sea Jewel became the next target. While docked in the Italian port of Savona Vardo, the Maltese-flagged vessel was rocked by 2 explosions. Though officially neutral, the Sea Jewel had reportedly carried Russian oil 3 times in early 2024. The blast, likely caused by planted explosive devices, left the ship disabled without sinking it, a pattern repeated in each Ukrainian operation. Then came an escalation. Later in February, Ukraine struck the Koala, flagged by Antigua and Barbuda, right in Russia's own Ust-Luga port in the Baltic Sea. The ship's engines were destroyed, and though it remained afloat, the strike made clear that Ukraine now had operatives capable of conducting sabotage deep inside Russian territory. Ust-Luga, a key oil export hub, had been breached, possibly by a mix of drones and special forces. Following a pause during a failed ceasefire negotiation involving Zelensky, Trump and Putin in early 2025, Ukraine resumed its strikes on June 29th with an attack on the Villa Mora off the coast of Benghazi, Libya. Sailing under Malta's flag, the vessel was disabled by an explosion that destroyed its propulsion and steering. Once again, Ukraine had pinpointed a critical node in Russia's oil trade and taken it offline. This string of 5 targeted strikes paints a clear picture. Ukraine has developed a sophisticated covert operation that relies on real-time intelligence, skilled operatives, and precision tactics to take down ships central to Russia's energy economy. These vessels aren't random targets. They're part of Putin's so-called shadow fleet, a clandestine network of tankers sailing under foreign flags and using deception to evade international scrutiny. The scale of this fleet is massive. Since 2022, Russia has poured an estimated $10 billion into expanding it. By March 2025, the fleet had grown to around 400 vessels, enabling the export of 4.1 million barrels of oil daily. In fact, by mid-2025, it accounted for 70% of Russia's seaborne oil trade and 89% of its total crude oil exports. These shadow tankers avoid detection using irregular routes, spoofing techniques, and ports in friendly or neutral countries. Many are old and deteriorating, some more than 25 years old, but Putin doesn't care. If it floats and carries oil, it's useful to him. And that's the crux of the issue. This fleet is what keeps Russia's war economy afloat. Despite severe economic challenges and declining reserves, Russia has managed to rake in over $610 billion in fossil fuel revenue since the invasion began. That includes $186 billion from gas and over $93 billion from coal. While not all of this money is spent directly on the war, a significant portion funds Russia's military machine. According to Ukrainian estimates, Putin's war costs roughly $1 billion per day, so this revenue stream is absolutely critical to keeping the invasion going. That's why Ukraine's sabotage of the shadow fleet is such a powerful strategy. Every tanker disabled is one less tool Russia can use to generate income. Each strike makes it harder for Russia to sustain its offensive, manufacture weapons, or pay soldiers. Even 5 targeted strikes can create ripple effects that stretch across Russia's entire economy. But it's more than just economic warfare. These attacks are a textbook case of asymmetric tactics, a form of warfare Ukraine has mastered. With fewer troops, smaller industrial capacity, and limited resources, Ukraine has turned to drones, sabotage, and cyber attacks to balance the playing field. Operations like Spiderweb, where over 100 FPV drones struck 4 Russian airfields in June, illustrate how Ukraine is taking the fight deep into Russian-held territory and disrupting critical assets, including nuclear-capable bombers. The same guerrilla-style warfare applies to these ship strikes. Ukraine has proven it can hit Russia not just at the front lines, but in ports, harbors, and coastal waters, from Libya to Italy to Turkey. In each case, it avoids direct confrontation, opting instead for precise, deniable sabotage that leaves Russia guessing and bleeding revenue. In May 2025, the EU sanctioned 189 additional vessels, bringing the total of restricted ships to around 350. While the West uses sanctions, Ukraine takes action. It collects intel, selects targets, and disables key vessels. This coordination may be unofficial, but it's effective. Putin can't openly complain about these attacks without admitting to the very illegal network he's tried to keep hidden. The Shadow Fleet may still be afloat, but Ukraine's strategy is clearly working. Each attack forces Russia to spend more, lose more cargo, and take on more risk. And with its economy already teetering, these strikes are landing harder than missiles ever could. Ukraine has redefined modern warfare, not just with drones or cyber tools, but with strategic precision that disrupts its enemy's lifeline. The world is watching, and if these strikes continue, they may well prove to be one of the most important factors in weakening Putin's war machine. For more on how Ukraine is changing the face of war, from drone innovations to sabotage campaigns, be sure to subscribe to the Bawler.